Good morning, guys. It is a beautiful day in South Florida today. It is also the first Monday after daylight savings, so I got to wake up early this morning and still felt normal, so I'm happy about that. We have kind of an all over the place day today. It is November 3rd, and in the beginning of the month, I like to set a baseline on all the aircraft, which means essentially doing a service check and a pre-flight, making sure they're all topped off, that we don't need to change any tires, that they don't, do a good walk around on all of them. In addition to that, each month we typically do what's called a FADEC download or an engine trend download. The aircraft engines are equipped with FADECs, which are FADEC, full authority digital engine controllers or engine computers. And what they do is they take the pilot's input from the throttles, electronically command the aircraft. That way there's no more cables, which can stretch over time, and it's all electronic. But in addition to that, what they do is they monitor engine trends, as in they're watching the start sequences, they're watching basically everything that's going on with the engine, and it'll notice, hey, the engine's been running a little hotter, or hey, your oil's been running a little hotter, or we're having to use more fuel to get the same amount of power, or so on and so forth. And what that allows us to do is do a download of this data, send it off to the engine manufacturer. In this case, for the engines that I'm going to be doing it on today, that's Honeywell, and they'll look at it and they'll come back to us and they'll say, everything looks normal, continue on. Or maybe they notice that the oil's been getting warmer than usually, and they'll have us do an oil sample and send it in for analysis to see what kind of metal's in there, or maybe do we have a failing oil pump, or maybe they notice that the exhaust gases, the ITT, interturbine temperature, is spiking or rising, which would indicate that something's going on with the combustion liner, typically inside the engines, and they'll say, okay, hey, we need to down the aircraft and boroscope the inside of the combustion liner to make sure there's no cracks, or just determine why it's rising. So, and there's a whole slew of other things, bimodal disagreements, and just, bleed valve faults, and all sorts of stuff that may not require immediate attention, but it'll say, hey, this has been going on, and then we can take action on it, or make a plan to take action. So today, if all goes well, we will be starting our day with a Challenger 350, Bombardier Challenger 350, then move on to a Challenger 3500, which is very similar to Challenger 350, just newer and newer marketing. Then we'll hit a Embraer Praetor 500, same one that we just did a wheel change on. That'll give me a chance to double check the tire pressures on those wheels that I just changed and make sure they're not leaking. And then a Lear 75. That one won't get engine downloads. It's got a longer interval, but it will get a pre-flight and service check and so on and so forth. So, and we'll see how far we get today. We've got tomorrow to knock some of these out as well, so I'm prioritizing the aircraft based on when they fly next. So, but yeah, I'm probably gonna do a truck swap, because gonna be getting dirty today, dirtier than usual. So rather than driving around and getting dirty in my new truck, I've got my old truck that I keep all the dirty stuff in. So I'll probably do that first, move the tools over, and make sure that I have all the oils that I need, that I've got a full tank of oxygen, that my nitrogen bottle's filled up and ready to go. Hydraulic Bowser that we service hydraulics with is ready to go, and we'll dispatch from the hangar then and just start knocking them out. Ooh, wobbly. All right, I'll catch you guys once we're in the old truck.
All right, guys, we got the old truck, like I said,
What I'm probably gonna do is just bang this one out really fast because somehow I ended up behind schedule still. But I'll show you guys the FADEC download and then we'll move on to the next airplane. So we've got Challenger 350. Eddie G! We've got Challenger 350. What I'm gonna do first is throw power on and just check to see what she needs before I drag everything out of the truck, because I don't know how many times I've done so and learned that the airplane was good and didn't need anything. So, oop, that was unlocked. Oxygen, typically keep it around 1850. She's sitting at 1600, so we will need oxygen, so I'll leave that open. Tires. She still has some pretty good life left. Let's make sure she doesn't have any cuts or nails in them. And other than the bottom side, everything looks good there. Static wicks are there. No signs of leaks on the rudder. We just did APU oils on this one, so we don't need to check that. Check the accumulator levels back here before we pressurize the hydraulic system. Go ahead and connect the batteries. So inboard brakes, outboard brakes, both sitting. Inboard gas pressure. Inboard sitting a little high when it probably just hasn't bled down since the last time, but outboard is just above 500, which is well within range. And then our downlock assist, 1700 to 1800 is low. Okay, so we'll charge up our main landing gear downlock assist. What else? These tires look good from the back and look good from the front. Check hydraulics off of the batteries real quick. Take a look at the nose. We'll probably change these this month. These guys don't fly a lot, so we could get some more life out of these. But I'll make a note to come back and check them after their next trip. And I don't see anything leaking. Nothing obviously wrong. Okay, let's take a look at hydraulics. Just run this off of the batteries. Left battery, right battery, standby instrument. Let her wake up for a second. Swap to our hydraulic synoptics page. I have a note here as to where we like to keep the hydraulic levels on these aircraft. So we like left to be between 48 and 54, the right to be 70, and the aux 65 in normal South Florida conditions for weather between 70 and 80, which is what we have today. So aux, let that come up. Right and left. So left is a touch high, right is a touch low, and the aux is a touch high. So that is because the hydraulic system on this aircraft for the landing gear brakes incorporates some shuttle valves, and each time you turn these pumps on, those shuttle valves move, and if you don't turn the pumps on in the exact order that I just did, it allows a little bit of fluid to move each time. So, but that makes my life hard because then we constantly have to service and correct these levels. But sometimes it makes it easy, and I could show you that here. I'll be able to transfer fluid from the left to the right system, get the left to where it needs to be. We'll probably have to add some to the right, and then we'll just dump some out of the auxiliary system. So by shuffling between toe brakes and parking brake, I can move fluid. So it's a little bit of a dance, but we'll do parking brake on, toe brakes on, parking brake off, toe brakes off, and just continue doing that until the left comes down to 54%, and then the left will be full where we like it, and then we'll just add, and what it's going to do is move the fluid to the right side. All right, there's 54% on the left. Right came up 2%, so we'll shut the pumps off in the correct order. I'll snap a picture of this so I know how much I need to adjust in the back. And we'll let them bleed down. I also need to bleed it down so I can properly service that inboard parking brake accumulator. All right, there's our rudder pressure coming down, 200 to 300 across, and then I'll pump the brakes to drop the accumulators back down to their minimum. What this is doing is letting all the hydraulic fluid out of the accumulator. An accumulator is basically a metal tube, and you can think of it as having a balloon in it. So on one side is this balloon that gets pressurized with nitrogen, and it allows hydraulics to come in into the same vessel. The air and the nitrogen don't mix. I'm calling it a balloon, but it's typically like a metal puck with an O-ring that floats back and forth. But think of it as a balloon for simplifying things. So what happens is you've got this air pressure, and air is compressible. So what it does is if you have a large load, sudden load on your hydraulics, it will, such as the brakes, it will give a little bit of extra cushion to prevent, how do I say it, hard hits inside the hydraulic line, so it cushions it. But as well as on a big demand, when you have a huge demand of hydraulic fluid going out this way, that balloon and that pressure in there will kind of help to give the hydraulics head pressure and just keep fluid moving. And it's just a way of bettering the hydraulic system. So, and it looks like the lowest we're going to get is, can we get any more out of it with the parking brake? We can. So we'll do all of this and we'll let it sit and stabilize. I'm just going to go basically until it stops moving. And, oh, there we go. Now it's dropping off. And it should basically end up matching what's indicated there of what is essentially no pressure. All right, I'm happy with that. So our battery is still happy. Oh, interesting. Okay, that was weird. We are going to check that again. We got an electrical fault when we tried to shut off the left-hand battery. It may have just been a sticking contactor, may not be a big deal, but it did register, so it probably would have saved an MDC code. So I'll go ahead and show you guys MDC codes, but for right now I'm going to let it sit, and we'll check that when we come back. Charging up the inboard brake accumulator now. Doesn't need much. We're sitting just under 500. So we're just gonna bring both of them up to the high end, which is 625. Inboard and outboard. All right, let's see. So we're gonna crack this Schrader valve. I'm gonna get it to its stop. We're gonna introduce some pressure. Introduce 500. And then we'll just barely open it. And it'll start to flow. You see it's slowly rising. So we wanna go right in between the next set of lines and then be ready to close it. Right there, that's about where we want to be. 625, I like it. Turn our bottle off. We'll do the other one. And then we'll do the main landing gear down lock assist actuator, or down lock assist accumulator. Same on the other side. Snug that up. Bottle's open. Pre-charge it. Crack that. Take it to its stop. Open it up. And increase pressure. That's not all she needed. Bottle off. Deplete line. Make sure it's where we want it, right in the middle. That's 625. Beautiful. Engine oils. Right in here on any Honeywell AS907 or HTF 7000 or whatever designator number you want to use for these engines. These are accessory gearbox. We've got a hydraulic pump right here. Let me see if I could get some light for you guys. Let's just use the phone. Hydraulic pump right here, some hydraulic lines, accessory gearbox. This is our oil level sending unit, our beefy engine mount. That's about all you can see in here. So it's funny, different engines and even the same kind of engines have personalities with their oil levels. So the 907s seem to be pretty rock solid. Some of the larger engines, some of them like to sit lower, some of them like to sit higher. So on the 907s, this one's marked. They're not always marked. I think the pilots did it on this one. That's where we like to keep them. We're not at full, not at low, right here. If we put them there, the oil level tends to stay more stable long term. If you overfill it, what happens is it just dumps out the gearbox breather tube when they're climbing out, and it makes a mess all over the backside of the engine. If it's too low, then it's just not good. You basically want to have it as high as possible for as long as possible without dumping a bunch of oil out. So we keep them right there. This one doesn't need much, but I'll go ahead and fill it up. So this girl takes Mobile 254, which I have. Do I have a rag? No, let me go grab a rag. All right, got a rag. These are nice because you don't need like a squeeze bottle or anything, as long as you're good with the oil. I like to put a rag here because if you do spittle, it'll run down and make a mess in the bottom of the cowl. So this will catch anything I drop. And it might be a little dark for you guys, but I'm just servicing it up to that line. And there we go. That's all she needs. Wipey wipey. Make sure we are locked. And we close the panel up. And I'll do the same thing on the other engine. Okay, we've done tires, oxygen, engine oils, accumulators, a walk around. So last thing with regard to the servicing is going to be correcting the hydraulic fluid levels, which we do in the rear equipment bay on this aircraft. Oop, oop. Come on. Lights on in here. Drop our ladder down. Make sure it locks. Yep. Give me a flashlight. So, here's our equipment bay of a Challenger 350. All sorts of stuff around here. Single pack, opposed to the Global, which has 2 packs. This is our auxiliary hydraulic system. We've got our left hydraulic system and its manifold, right hydraulic system and its manifold. We'll check the DPIs on those just to make sure we're not having any bypasses. Fire bottles for the engines, we'll take a look at those. Both of the needles look to be in the green range. It's a very thin range, but they're good. This is where we're going to service at. So this is the left-hand fill port, right-hand fill port. If we had a external hydraulic pump or a mule, as they call it, we could hit the return and pressure sides of each system if we were doing some checks. Ecology bottles, I mentioned these in a previous video. Basically catch any hydraulic fluid that is escaping, that is designed to escape, and doesn't allow it to make a mess. There's one there. One for the right, and it looks empty as well. Then the aux, which is empty, which is good. We want to see empty. So I'm going to get connected to fill. The left is good, the right needs to come up, and the aux needs to be drained. So I'll get connected to the right, pump it up, and then drain down the aux. What we'll do is unravel our hose. We're going to service the right. It's nice quick connects here, self-sealing valves. We are looking at our valve or our gauge there. We were at 64% with pressure on, as indicated in the cockpit. Once you take pressure off, fluid will return to the reservoir and raise it. So we want to be at 70%. So we know we only need to go up about 6%. So what I'm going to do is take it from the 79 it's at to 85. That's the 6% increase I need, and then we'll double check when we go back in. So we're connected here with our quick connect coupling to the fill port, and we just pump. It takes a little while to get pressure going. There we go. Now she's moving. And this is a Skydrol based fluid, which I have talked about before. When it is new, it is purple and it is viscous. Purple, clearish, viscous liquid, and it looks like candy. But I can promise you it is the furthest thing from candy. So we're gonna creep up on about 85 here. That'll put us right in the range we wanna be for the temperature that we're at. And that's it. That's the right-hand system. Done. And then now the aux, we actually had to remove fluid from. So what I'm gonna do, I need pressure in the system in order to dump fluid out of the system. So I'm gonna turn on the auxiliary hydraulic pump, and we're going to monitor this gauge. It's in there. I don't know if you guys could see it, but there's numbers on there. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna drop it by whatever percentage we need to come down. And then the fluid will actually come out of the reservoir. This is the bleed valve on the reservoir. So if you had trapped air or anything, or you just had the system open because you changed an actuator or whatever, it pulls right off the top of the reservoir through this valve that you can manually open, and it'll suck any air out, but it's also how we remove a little bit of fluid when we need to. It'll come down this line into the ecology bottle, and then we just unscrew the ecology bottle and we could dump it out. So let me go turn the hydraulic pump on. It's gonna get loud, and we'll bring this down to where it needs to be. All right, we've got this auxiliary pump running, so it's probably going to scream here from time to time because as it drops in pressure, it'll kick back on. Right now, we're sitting at just below 3,000 psi, and let me see here. I forget my numbers. We were at where were we? We were at 76, and we want to be at 65. So we're going to drop about 10 psi. So again, this is what we're looking at. I'm going to watch it. So we'll call that. So that's fully pressurized at 76, and we want to drop by about 10. So we're going to go down to 66. And right there. You can see the fluid started coming out of the tube. It's beautiful and purple. That's how we like to see it. We don't want to see it dirty and cloudy. And that's literally all we had to take out. But now it's properly serviced. So I'm gonna go shut the pump off. We'll let this drain. We'll clean up. Once it's done draining from the tube in there, I'll just dump it out as necessary, and we'll go from there. And we had that electrical fault the last time we went to shut the batteries down. So I'm gonna turn the aux pump off. I'm going to go into the maintenance data computer here, and I just want to see if it captured an electrical fault history. It did. So left battery contactor. What I'm going to do is take a picture of this B3 code. I'm going to see if it does it again when we shut down. I have never seen this fault on this aircraft before, on this particular aircraft. So I'm going to take a picture of that B3 code, because that's what we use for troubleshooting. And I'll also go back, and a lot of these codes, just faults, aren't necessarily actual faults. You kind of have to know what you're looking for in here. And I'm just going to see if there are any more chapter 24 faults that have popped up, because it may have just been a one-time thing. Maybe I just shut down too fast, maybe I induced it, but we're all the way back in September now. I had replaced an ice detector on this aircraft because it had a failed ice detector, but now it's good. August, I don't see anything that's in chapter 24, which is the electrical system. So hopefully it was just a fluke, but let's see. Let's shut down again. Right battery off. Left battery, it's doing it again. Wow. Okay, so what we're probably going to do is take a look at that B3 code. I'm sure it's going to tell us it's a contactor, but we'll see what troubleshooting steps it gives us. And I'll notify the crew that it's going on. They don't have a flight until later this week, so hopefully I can just get it taken care of before then. But I've never seen this particular fault, but it's not one that I'm super puzzled by. It should be pretty easy. So maybe I can have a troubleshooting video coming up soon. Okay, so we're doing the FADEC download, and it's complicated the first time you set it up, but after that it's easy. We got a program, we got a laptop. You use these cables that come in this fancy box to connect to the maintenance port for the engines. And there's not a whole lot to talk about here, but this is the FADEC download that I was talking about earlier. So currently it's downloading both engines. And when it's done, I'm going to put it on this USB drive and then email it off to Honeywell for them to review. But it is it's not a lot to go over here. It's just a download. All right, guys, we just finished up with the Challenger 350. I am going to look into that electrical fault that we got later today and get with the pilots and see if they've seen it before. And basically just go down the troubleshooting steps. I'll probably make a video for that. See what we end up with. See if I can make it happen again. Maybe it's just unhappy today and it never does it again. I hate faults like that because they always seem to reappear at the worst possible time. But yeah, we're gonna head up to the Challenger 3500 right now, do the exact same thing, hopefully with no electrical faults. So I'm probably not going to record the majority of that, but I am going to be removing the aircraft batteries and putting a set of spare batteries we have on hand into it, because the batteries that are currently installed are due for a capacity check, which is basically where they perform a procedure on the battery, charge it up all the way, and then ensure that it takes a set load for a set amount of time. And that's basically because these batteries, if you lose the engines and the APU won't start, all the electrical power you have are going to be coming from these batteries. So some of them are for emergency lights, some of them are actually the main ship batteries, and yeah, you want to make sure that they have the life in them that they need to in order to safely get the aircraft back to the ground in the event of an emergency. So we'll be doing that, and we'll see if we find anything else. I'll catch you when I get up to the next airport. Okay guys, we are back at the next aircraft, the Challenger 3500. So same deal as the last one. We'll do a walk around. Anything that needs to be serviced, we will service. I'm not going to double record the exact same procedures, but if there's anything new that I'm doing, I will, or if I find anything new. These are the aircraft main batteries. We're going to get everything done that we need to get done with these, remove them, put the spare set that I charged up in here so they're ready to go. And yeah, that's basically it. Let's get our walk around done. So this one, I'm already aware, we'll be changing these main tires sometime this month. Still has life on them, but as I've previously said in other videos, we like to catch them early, but these are getting low. Normally when the Challenger tires wear, it'll break through and hit the first layer of cord on the outer areas, and you could see that's where it's the most worn. But for now, they're still serviceable. They're still good. Not something we're going to worry about today. And let's just make sure we don't have any nails or cuts or anything that would make them unserviceable. I don't think so. They look good. All right. Static wicks look good. Erosion tape looks good. Leading edge looks good. Let's go ahead and open up the main door. Nose wheels look beautiful. This leading edge looks good. Good. Static wicks are there. These, plenty of life left. Okay, I like it. Let's check the oxygen. Same deal, sitting about 1600. I'll bring it up between 18 and 1850. Our accumulators, let's look at those. Linear downlock assist is good. That one, we'll have to deplete them. This one's still holding pressure, which isn't a bad thing. This one, if that's as low as it goes, is within limits, but we'll bring it up to 625 where it should be at the top end. And yeah, we'll go through the rest of the stuff. Again, if nothing's different, I'll show you the removal and installation of these batteries as well as a couple more on the inside, and that'll be that for this aircraft. So we got the servicing all done, FADEC downloads done on this one. So we don't need batteries anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these. You got your main battery connectors, and these go to a temperature sensor. These are nickel cadmium NiCad batteries, is what they're known as. The temperature needs to be monitored in these because NiCads, you could probably look it up. NiCad batteries will thermal runaway when put under extreme stress, or sometimes they could just, you know, take off on their own. It's not common. It's not something you need to worry about when you're on an aircraft. There are procedures put in place, basically, and that's why we have these sensors. If a thermal runaway were to occur and the battery started to heat up, the pilots would get a notification. They would disconnect the battery from the bus, see if it started cooling down, and there's a whole procedure that they'd follow. But thermal runaway is essentially exactly what it sounds like. Is the temperature will climb and climb and climb and run away and create a situation where it's almost like a fire fueling itself. So there's a lot of safety features put into these to prevent that from happening, but it is just part of the nature of the beast of a NiCad battery. So here's one. We're just going to go and set it over here on the floor. And here's another one. We got the loaner batteries or spare batteries that we've got in the truck. So I'll send these out to get checked. When they're ready, I'll go pick them back up. But in the meantime, we've got these ones that'll take their place. These are pretty heavy. Let's see, I'm pretty sure they say the weight on them. Oh, 81 pounds, 81.8 pounds. So it's a chunk of metal. Chunk of a lot of stuff. What's that? What's that? What's that? The valve tubes. And one more battery. Get everything out of the way. Watch fingers. Okay. too. What we'll do is go check the current voltages on these. Make sure each one comes online as it should. Both batteries on. Go to our electrical page, 24.2, 24.1, beautiful. We'll do left battery off, right battery sustains, left battery on, right battery off. This aircraft isn't going to fly with these installed. I just want them in case the crew has to come out to do any checks. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. If something pops up that they do need to fly, I'll come out and do an operational check per the maintenance manual. But for right now, she's good to go. Or not good to go, but good to sit. And then the other thing we got to pull out are 2 emergency lighting batteries. So I'll get set up to do that and get back with you guys. These emergency lighting batteries, one of them lives back here. So what we'll have to do is remove these drawers. And there's a little compartment back there. I don't know if you could see it. So I'll get these drawers out of the way. And the other one lives right behind this sidewall, right in this area. So we'll get these seats pulled out and get that sidewall pulled off, and I'll show you where they're at. Okay, so I got a phone call, so I ended up getting these out. But these are the emergency lighting battery packs. There's a cradle that they pop into. These are the 2 connectors for them. They are meant to wiggle around like that. And it's just quarter turn fasteners that pop in, and nothing fancy, nothing crazy. I'll show you where they go. They're not the worst thing to get to. You just gotta know where they are. So, if we shine our light in the direction that they go, and take our camera off, they are, let's see, that's the cradle that they go into. And they just drop in. It's a piece of cake to get to them. You just gotta know where they are. I was able to get these drawers out in like a couple minutes, and there's a little shelf here with 4 screws. I put the screws back in place just so I don't lose them. There's the shelf. And yeah, you just pop them out and we'll send them out to get checked, and when they come back we'll install them and do a check of the emergency lighting system. That'll probably take 3 or 4 days for them to come back from the shop. And like I said, the other one, same cradle. I'm not gonna pull it back off, but this, we call this side panel or dado panel. You can literally just pop it off, and the other one sits right there. So, but yeah, that's that. So I'm just going to stick these drawers back in place so that they're safe for now. And we'll pop them back out and put the new batteries in when we get them. But that is all I have to do on this thing. All right, so in true aviation fashion, things are not going as planned. I'm gonna go ahead and skip the Praetor today and do it tomorrow, because I have to get the Lear done today because they're flying tomorrow. So things are taking a little bit longer than I expected today, but I had high hopes, but we're still getting a lot done. I just dropped those batteries off at the shop that I pulled out of the Challenger 3500. Luckily, there's a shop right there on the field that we use for battery overhauls and cap checks. So they should be done Thursday if all goes well. So Thursday there'll be a reinstallation video probably, and we'll go through all the operational checks on that. And they're quick. I've done them before. There's nothing crazy to do with them. But yeah, we're headed to the 3rd airport of the day, and we will get the Lear all serviced up and go from there. Okay, so we have made it to the Learjet. We got the guys, our detailing companies here, working on the bright work. We have bright work that gets done. The bright work is referring to the polished leading edges that are on the wings and the tail and the engines. So what we do is basically keep the bright work nice and shiny, prevents corrosion, prevents anything from sticking to it, and it just looks better overall. So, but while they're doing that, I'll get the pre-flight done. And the Lear is really easy to do it on. So yeah, this one should be quick. The only other thing with this is the pilots reported that they're having an oxygen leak. So we didn't have one before, and we haven't gone through any maintenance. So the most likely culprit's more than likely going to be the oxygen masks up in the cockpit. So I'll show you what I do with those, and we'll have to come back tomorrow. But yeah, let's knock out this pre-flight. So first thing we'll check is oxygen, because we actually had to get it serviced this morning up in the Carolinas before they left. So it's still full, but they would have, it's still in the green range, but they would have serviced it all the way up to 18 at least. I'll call the technician who did it and verify. So it's dropped at least 100 pounds in about 9 hours. So we definitely got a leak. Let's see, what we'll do just to get ahead of the game is go ahead and bag these masks, and I'll show you guys how I do that. And it's pretty simple, and it's not really anything too scientific, but it will tell you if one of the crew oxygen masks is leaking. So I have bags and I have zip ties. And the goal is to make a secure enough seal that if there's a leak, one of these bags will inflate overnight. And that'll tell us which mask is leaking. And if they don't inflate, then it's probably not a mask, and that means that we'll have to hunt down an actual oxygen leak, which I hate having to do. It is a pain in the butt depending on the type of airplane, but we'll see how it goes on this one. Okay guys, so we are in the cockpit of the Lear 75, and again, we're suspecting one of these masks is leaking. So sometimes they have flow indicators on them, and it'll kind of give you an idea. But if it's a small leak, like what we have, you can't really tell. So what we do, take the mask, shove it in a bag, get it all the way in there, close it up the best we can. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always the first thing I do. And cinch it down with a zip tie. And before we do that, we'll push all the air out of it that we can. And if we come back tomorrow and the bag is popped or it's inflated and I can feel that there's pressure on it, then we know that the mask itself is leaking. So I'll do that to both sides. Same thing, let's check the flow indicator. This will turn, you might be able to see it actually. You know, you see the black right there. So when there's a lot of flow, that piston moves inside of this flow indicator, but we may have a leak that isn't enough to move the flow indicator. So we bag it. We scrunch it. Get it much air out as we can without making the mask go off. Cinch it down, and we'll let it sit like that. And again, if we come back tomorrow and it's looser than this, that doesn't mean there's a leak, but if it's fully inflated, it'll tell us that it's a mess. And I may just check when we get done with the post flight to see how it's doing. So to do a handful of things on the Lear 75 post flight, you want to pop batteries on, and you also just want to turn the APU master on. And we'll hop in the back and it'll allow us to do a few things. So we know our oxygen's a hair low, but I'm actually not going to service it. I want to see how much it drops between now and tomorrow morning, as well as try to trace down this leak. But with the batteries on, we could come back here to this panel and basically tells us how our hydraulics are looking. If one of the filters was clogged, we'd have an amber light on the main or aux. Right now we have the green okay, which means everything's good there. It doesn't need to be serviced. Then back here, we have our APU test panel, which is hidden down here. And what you do is you press this button, and if the add light comes on, it means it needs a little bit of oil. If the low light comes on, it means it's low on oil. So our goal is to have no lights. So we press, and we have no lights. So we're good. APU doesn't need to be serviced. I'm gonna check the engine oils, but I may not be able to post that video simply because it shows the tail number really clearly, and I try to keep that private. So let's see if I can pull this off. But we got a good old dipstick, and that is right around where we like to keep the oil. Not quite full, not low, about 3/4 of the way below the full line. So that one's good. Don't need to put oil in that. And let's check the other side. This one is actually showing overfull, so I'm going to wipe it and double check it. Let me get a rag. So it's probably right at full. So the pilots must have serviced it a little bit. It's higher than I like it, but it's not over full. And we'll check the other side. Wipe it just to be sure. Perfect. So I'm gonna let the crew know, maybe don't service it so high next time, but they may have done it by mistake. Again, if it's over serviced, typically it'll just blow it out the exhaust, and you don't really have to worry about it. Another thing we want to check while we're back here is our fire bottle pressures. So they're sitting right around 700 psi, where they like to be. I'll just do a visual back here. Make sure there's no leaks, no signs that anything's been moving around. It'll take a little bit longer to do this later, but for right now, I don't see anything that requires immediate attention. I'm just popping in the manual here just to double check the tire pressures for this aircraft. So normal cold tire operating pressure range, not jacked. We want 114 as our top end on the nose and 170 on the mains. So 114, 170. And we'll grab a regulator, grab a bottle, and we'll get them serviced up. I think you guys have seen me do this a couple times now, so I don't need to do it in depth. We got a tire pressure gauge, and we got compressed dry nitrogen. We use dry nitrogen on basically everything in the aircraft. One, because it's more stable, and two, because it's been dried. So there's no moisture in it, because if we keep pumping any moisture into the tires or into these accumulators, eventually that moisture is going to build up, because the air is going to escape before the moisture does, which means over time you'll just accumulate more and more moisture. And when you're flying around at 41,000 feet or whatever, it's very cold, and that moisture will freeze and could lead to problems or corrosion or all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to go get the tires serviced up, and we'll see what else we got. I'm just popping in the manual here just to double check the tire pressures for this aircraft. So normal cold tire operating pressure range, not jacked, we want 114 as our top end on the nose and 170 on the mains. So 114, 170. And we'll grab a regulator, grab a bottle, and we'll get them serviced up. I think you guys have seen me do this a couple times now, so I don't need to do it in depth. We got a tire pressure gauge, and we got compressed dry nitrogen. We use dry nitrogen on basically everything in the aircraft. One, because it's more stable, and two, because it's been dried. So there's no moisture in it, because if we keep pumping any moisture into the tires or into these accumulators, eventually that moisture is going to build up, because the air is going to escape before the moisture does, which means over time you'll just accumulate more and more moisture. And when you're flying around at 41,000 feet or whatever, it's very cold, and that moisture will freeze and could lead to problems or corrosion or all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to go get the tires serviced up, and we'll see what else we got. All right, tire pressures are all good, didn't need much. I actually called the crew to let them know what my plan with the oxygen masks were, and luckily they informed me that they actually don't fly until the day after tomorrow. So I am going to check the bags that are on these O2 masks, and then we'll see if they've inflated at all. But other than that, this one's going to be ready to go for its flight. We'll come back tomorrow, check the bags again. If we can't determine whether or not it's an O2 mask that's bad right now, if we have to order a mask, we will. We'll get it here as soon as possible. And then tomorrow I'll service up the oxygen. So, but let's see if these bags have inflated at all. If not, we'll let them sit overnight. And if they're not inflated in the morning, I might spend some time trying to hunt down this leak to determine what is exactly leaking. And that may involve me getting up in the nose. I believe that's where the oxygen bottles are in this, but I'm gonna have to look all that up. So they just shampooed the carpet, so let's kick our shoes off. No, just normal. So we'll see what they do overnight. Boop. Left. Lock. And I'm just gonna do one more walk around, just make sure I'm not missing anything, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm gonna call it done for the day. Like I said before, we didn't get to the Prater. I will come back to the Lear in the morning to check on those oxygen masks. If the bags didn't inflate, what I'm gonna do is access the oxygen bottle, and we'll use some leak detector. It's basically soapy water, and we'll put it on the lines coming off the oxygen bottle, anything that we could get to try to figure out where this leak is occurring at. And then after that, I'll hit the Prater. We're gonna do a service check on it, just like we did with the rest of the airplanes. It also needs FADEC downloads. The process for doing it on that aircraft is basically the same. Stuff's just in a different spot. And it also needs to get databases done, which I don't think I've shown you guys how to do databases on a Collins Proline 21 Fusion aircraft. So I'll go over all that tomorrow, spend some time. Today, like I said in the beginning of the video, we were all over the place. I don't know if it's going to make for the best content, but I'm going to post it and see what bites. And but either way, again, I'm just here because this is fun for me. It's like I've got somebody watching over my shoulder while I'm recording these videos, which I normally don't. I'm normally out here alone, so it holds me a little bit more accountable. And yeah, that's basically it. So I'm gonna head home, get cleaned up, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.